Hello everybody, welcome. This is the deep dive. This time I've got a player on. I think I've had a player on before. If you count Bren as a Valorant player, then I've had a player on before. Actually, Astro I've had on, Astro.
Yeah,
so
you had Astro, and I think...
Another main support. Another beast main support in Lyar. Lyar, I wanted to get you on because we had a really interesting conversation the other night at the Toronto after party. Did you want to... I really want you to kind of start with that story. I don't know if you've told people yet what happened when you went out for a night out.
Okay. So I'm not gonna dive. That is one thing I probably should not dive into all the details on. But you know, we were at grand finals, and you know, we were out partying and stuff with a group of people. I won't say who, and you know, I got a little bit too intoxicated, and let's just say thank goodness for Toronto having free healthcare. I might have woke up in a clinic, but I was fine. I'm good. Okay, nothing happened. I think I just was a little too intoxicated, and I don't remember how I ended up there. But you know, hangover moment. I made it. I lived.
How badly did you get hangovers? Because like I am dead for like the next day, and I've not had a hangover in years. To be fair, I could have changed, but as I'm getting older, I feel like it's even worse.
So I definitely do get hangovers. I'm not really good at drinking like water when I'm drinking. But yeah, like the next day I woke up from like the place and I Ubered back to my Airbnb, and I did not go to the event that day. I was literally in bed till I was bed all night. I think I went to bed finally at 7 p.m. and I woke up at like 3 a.m.
Oh my god. Okay. We just had a discussion before we started this about sleep schedules, and that's that makes sense now why your sleep schedule is actually hella messed up. And you called me messed up for like getting up at 5 a.m. every day. I'm like, come on, bro. You're having like 2 naps and shit like during the day. Come on.
No. Well, the thing is, like, after that day, I was able to go back to sleep at like 6 in the morning, 6, 7, and I was able to go to the event that day. But yeah, like for me, one thing, like if I ever want to fully reset my sleep, I have to stay up a full 24 hours. Like I have to like mentally and physically exhaust my body to the point where it's like if I do go to bed at 10 or 11, like I'm going to get full like sleep and wake up at like 7 or 8. I do like having a good sleep schedule. Like when I'm in school, I try and have one. But I'm on like the gamer schedule right now.
I mean, what are you doing right now? You said before that you're not studying this semester, right?
Yeah, so for those who didn't know, I used to play like in collegiate, and I got picked up to OWL this year, and OWL at the end conflicted with the collegiate kind of like 2 or 3 weeks, and this season was pretty stressful on me. I didn't really get like a break that I would normally get, so I was just like, I'm gonna take a semester off because you know we had grand finals at the end of the month, and I was also looking to go to BlizzCon, but I don't think I'm gonna be doing that anymore because it's so expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, right now I'm just like taking a semester off and I'm doing coaching on the side. I've been doing some sessions and stuff.
Oh hell yeah. Easy mode. I mean, coaching's something that even Jake was kind of talking about coaching too at one point. I mean, it seems like a very good opportunity for a lot of players, like during the off season and whatnot.
Yeah, I think that coaching, it gives me something to do because I'm not really doing anything right now. I also can make some money doing it, and depending on like the player, like I definitely could see, you know, Jake was a coach on Outlaws and stuff. If that's something you're interested in doing, then I definitely think you should do it. But I know not everybody has the patience to like watch like a VOD, take notes, and like try and coach players. Like some people just aren't good with people. I feel like I'm a people's person, so I can do that stuff.
I mean, on the side, yeah. I mean, if you've got nothing going on right now, you might as well, right? Because obviously the Overwatch League, this is recorded, by the way, on the 6th of the 10th, or the 10th of the 6th if you're Americans. Just an FYI. So just after everybody's kind of gotten back from Toronto. No COVID, by the way. I know everybody's been like checking every single day. I don't know if you like got coronavirus or anything like that, because our talent chat's like blowing up, making sure everybody's like testing negative.
Yeah,
stuff.
no. So a lot of people I was hanging out with, like Majed and Kaluj, and like basically like all the Toronto and like American Tornado and people. Like I know Dante has like turbo COVID. He was saying like he can't hear, and I had the same thing when I got COVID. Like my hearing got really like muffled.
Wow.
In a sense, but yeah, like I somehow dodged it because I think someone at my Airbnb got COVID, but I lived.
Somehow you live. I have been in the Airbnb COVID situation. It sucks. We went to Korea for Seth's or Achilles' wedding, and I'm going to blame Albert actually. Albert, I'm pretty sure, was patient zero for that Airbnb.
Actually,
yeah. I'm pretty sure because it was me, Bren. No, Bren was actually in a different Airbnb. It was me, Avast. It was Avast, some of Avast's friends, and like there was a big group of us basically, is what I'm saying. And like Albert, I'm pretty sure Albert got it, or like maybe Roston gave it to him or somebody. But then, oh my god, the death in that small Airbnb. Yeah. I was dying for at least a couple of days. Like we went out to this fish market. And we were eating some good old fish. Like, it was really nice. There's a hell of fish everywhere that's all alive. You kind of point to the fish you want. They cut it up for you, etc. And then you eat it upstairs.
Damn.
And dude, it was sick. It's a wet market, pretty much. It's super awesome. Wait, is wet market the right word? Right word? I don't know.
I've never been to a wet market, but
it was wet and it was a market. So I'm assuming that's what it's called. Maybe I get the term wrong, but it was really awesome, despite the fact I was sick as a dog. Like, I was dying. There's a picture. I think Bren was like sitting far away from me, and he took a picture of me, and I'm just like death, bro. Like humongous like bags under my eyes. I'm just like pale. I'm like trying to eat this food. I'm enjoying it, but like I'm just dying. So I think quite lucky actually not getting COVID if you stayed in an Airbnb with someone that had it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like, so I've only gotten COVID once, and it was at the end of this collegiate event. You know Wheats, right?
Yeah.
Wheats was a super spreader. Like he was patient zero, and me, Renko, Wheats, were sharing like a hotel room, and he infected me and Renko like the night before we left. That is also one of the worst travel stories I've ever had. I lost my, they lost my carry-on, and we also got delayed a full day, and we had to go stay in a hotel, and the hotel was not cleaned, and there was roaches in my room.
What the fuck?
And I had COVID, and I've never felt worse than like COVID. I had every symptom imaginable, and like I was sick for a week.
Holy shit. That must have been the new strain then, because everybody's saying the new strain is like crazy bad.
It was around, well, not around this time, but it was like, yeah, around this time last year, like in September. So maybe, I don't know.
That is messed up. I did. Speaking of like Dante as well, you mentioned a minute ago. When I spoke to him, he had no voice. Like he could barely speak like 2 words.
Yeah, when I was talking to him, I was like, bro, just don't talk. Like, give me one of these, these, or these. Like, those are your talking points. Because like he was just like, I mean, I can't even imitate it. Like there was nothing coming out.
Yeah, there was nothing coming out of that man's mouth. What did you think of Toronto overall? Did you have a good time?
Toronto was really nice. I'm gonna be honest. I've never been to Canada before, so it was really fun going to a new city. And I'm from the suburbs, so I'm not like a really big city person. I don't really go out to the city ever. So it was cool to go to a city like of that caliber, and especially in Canada, because I don't know, it's just different culture, but it was fun.
I wouldn't say it's not like crazy different I found from like places like New York, but everybody was like, it's basically just a cleaning New York. Like Toronto is an amazing city. My god, the food there is insane, and like everything's obviously kind of in walking distance as well. You don't really need to take Ubers anywhere because everything's kind of close. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
I'd move there if I could.
Yeah, so my mom lives in like New York, and I went there once, and like I didn't even go to like the city. Like I was still in like not suburbs, but like I guess where like the houses are, I guess. But
Right.
yeah, it's definitely a lot cleaner. That's one thing I was saying. Is just like there wasn't a lot of trash everywhere. There wasn't as many homeless people as I thought there would be, especially like in a big city like that. But yeah, the food was really good. I didn't really eat at like restaurants, but like the fast food itself was already better than America. That's so crazy that like everyone has standards on America where it's like, oh, we're fucking pigs and like we just eat fast food. But like, dude, our fast food isn't even good compared to the rest of the world. Like, it's just insane.
Yeah, if you ever get a chance to go to Korea, eat some of their like street food and stuff like that, it'll blow your fucking mind. Or even
Yeah,
Japan too. It's just insane.
I
What
want
you
to
can
go to
find.
Japan.
I want to
I
go
do
back.
want to.
It's one of the most amazing countries of all time. Like, if you think you've seen clean streets and stuff like that, you have not seen Japan. Like, Japan is the cleanest country I've ever been to, and it's just everybody is super nice as well, and like, it's very easy to find your way in Japan too, and it's very it's really awesome. Like, you feel super safe as well, or most of the time. Bren
Yeah.
heads out there will know the Yakuza stories, but like most of the time, like you are
Oh,
just 100% safe.
I know. You go like me and you are on the Vast Coast stream sometimes, but like a big meme there is like I'm a huge weeb, and I
Yep.
mean you can
Yeah.
you can fucking
Attack on Titan posters.
yeah,
Hell
Attack on
yeah.
Titan and then Haikyuu. So like, listen, I do watch anime, okay? I'm not gonna lie, but I do want to visit Japan because I mean, it's just such a cool place. Not even for anime, just like it seems like such a cool place for like food and culture.
It
There's so
is.
many like cool tourist spots you can go to, but I would want to try and learn some Japanese before I go there, just so I can like. I feel like I'd be a burden if I'm just like, oh, I don't speak any, like I don't understand shit. But
Most places that I went to, I had when I went on the trip for a few days near the end of my trip, I had someone that spoke Japanese, and that was like very easy to like get into very nice places with really good food. But like for the most part, it's pretty easy to get around. Like a lot of the signs are in English too, and the train or like the subway or whatever, like, and the people that live there as well, a lot of them speak English. So it's, if you need help,
yeah,
you can kind of find people that speak English. It's like, and like I said, everybody's like really friendly, and like native Torontoans, native people to Toronto that live there their whole lives as well. Like, they're also really nice if you need something. I found, and it's just the clash of cultures is crazy. And like
yeah,
you were saying, I think even Toronto, which is just over kind of the border to America, is like very different in like culture, and everybody's very nice. Everybody's very
yeah.
nice.
Everybody in Toronto was so nice. Like I was saying this, like I was going through airport security, and this was the first time I wasn't being yelled at. Like, like,
Oh, really? Well, I
yeah.
was on the other way through. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh yeah. Like I think I told you this, but like when I was going through customs to get into Canada, like the guy took a look at my passport and he looked up and said, "You're only 23?" Like that's the only question he had. And first off, I'm not even 23. I was like, "I'm 22." He was like, "Oh, my bad." But I was just like, I guess like, yeah, man, I'm only 22. He's like, "I guess it's the beard." I'm just like, I guess it's they don't care.
Yeah,
I don't know. They
they're
were
chill,
really
man.
nice though. Yeah, they were definitely really nice.
I mean, the beard definitely adds a couple of years at least. My face, on the other hand, cannot grow facial hair for
Yeah,
shit.
I was talking to
Very
you
bad.
at the bar and I was just like,
Yeah,
I thought you were like mid 20s, like maybe at oldest like 27, 28. But like you're 30 or
yeah.
31?
I'm 30. I just turned 30 this year.
30? Hey, listen,
Yeah,
you look really young for a 30-year-old, so
I'll
you
take
still
it.
got some time. You still got some time left.
Massive W.
Yes.
Massive. There's still got some time left until I'm booted off of esports commentary because I look too old. I mean, hey, tell that to someone like Mitch, bro. Like,
No,
they're
like
much older than I am. Well, no, I
Mitch,
say much older. He's like 2 years.
him and Mr. X are definitely, or Mr. X is definitely probably one of the oldest casters in esports, right? Like,
No, I think Tastostis are older. I'm pretty sure Tasteless is older than Matt. Could be wrong because they've been doing it forever.
yeah,
Like
like
commentary at least. But yeah, I
yeah,
would
like
say Matt may be on the upper end of things when it comes to age. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember um, like when I first started like getting into video games, like I played like Call of Duty and stuff, and that was like my first ever like introduction to like esports. And I just remember seeing like Mr. X like coaching Complexity at the time,
Yeah.
and then he transitioned into like a caster and COD, and then like now he's in Overwatch, and who knows after this season what he'll be doing next, but he'll do good for himself anywhere he goes. So
Yeah, that's very true. I do want to kind of touch on that too, because man, I don't know if you watched like the final death segment, but man, we all like tears in our eyes, like rubbing our eyes and shit like that. It was emotional, and
yeah,
I've said this to a lot of people in the green room and stuff, and I was like, it's crazy when you actually go to these events, because me and Scott have just been in the studio, the EE studio, the whole year, just like casting and stuff, which is great, by the way. Unreal studio, and like actually being with your co-caster rather than like being online is just, it's night and day. But then it's also night and day when you go to like a live event. But I think a lot of the time, because we're doing online stuff and there's no audience all the time, like Valorant has right now with their studio every single week, you always kind of forget that there's a lot of people that love the desk, the casters, the players, the events, and everything, right? Like it's really odd. And when we were doing that speech, or when Zoe was doing the speech, and we're all kind of stood there, like everybody, there was like so many people behind the camera. It was like hard to really picture because the camera was mainly focused on Zoe and like the rest of the desk. But like, my God, there were a lot of people, and everybody, like even some of the crowd people were like, getting tears in their eyes. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of get your 2 cents on that, and just kind of the event as a whole, because man, Overwatch League has been such a big part of like a lot of people's lives.
yeah. So I actually watched it like 2 days ago, and I was like thinking to myself like Jake was crying at the end, like Zoe was like tearing up. Like I'm not gonna lie, I don't know how Zoe got through that without like bawling her eyes out, because
Yeah.
she's been here like so long, and like it did make me take like a step back and think to myself like, this has been a part of my life. Obviously, I haven't been in Overwatch League, but ever since Overwatch League came out, I always wanted to be a part of like Overwatch. Because at first my goal was to be on an academy team. I never thought I'd be in Overwatch League. Um, so watching that, and like it kind of did put it into perspective. Like, okay, this is probably not going to be here next year, whether it's just Overwatch League. So I did get I did get a little bit emotional thinking about it, because I was just like, wow, like this has been going on for 6 years. Like that's like a long time, and I've been putting so much effort and time into it. And for me, I think it's probably different for you, because like you've been casting, and you've been here for a couple of years now, but like this was my first year in the league. I
Yeah.
finally achieved Overwatch League, and it just was like, dang, I never got to fully experience like the peak of what this league could have been, or what it was like in season 1 and 2. Like whenever I hear people talking about those stories, like I'm just like, man, I really wish I was there for that, because that was the dream, to like live with your teammates, compete in front of a crowd, and going to that event, like you said, like you kind of forget how many people love Overwatch. And I was talking to one of my friends. It was like, dude, when we were playing online, I'm playing in like front of 30 to like 40,000 people. I don't know what the average was, but like it was at least like 20 plus
This
thousand.
year in NA, it was more like 60 plus K. So
Yeah.
it was a lot of people, yeah.
Yeah, like we had so many people. And when I went to that event, I was like, this isn't even like the biggest venue, but like
Yeah.
a 40,000 person venue is like a football stadium watching us every single match we play. And that like kind of put it into perspective, like, wow, I'm part of something much bigger than, what I think. So I definitely got a little FOMO, I guess, in a sense. Like I was like, man, what if I did like my clutch on stage? Like how crazy the crowd would
The
have gone or
people
something.
would have gone insane.
Yeah, like people get like one kill with a headshot and they're going crazy. Like the
Yeah.
amount of serotonin you must get is crazy. I was getting serotonin just being in the crowd. Like I was like, dude, this is surreal. So definitely got emotional over it, and I really hope there is something next year, whether it's owl or some other type of ecosystem.
Is that something you're going to be pushing towards as well? Because obviously you're taking a little bit of break now. Like whatever does come of next year, is it something you really want to be a part of, or are you gonna kind of take it easy for a little bit?
So if there is some type of sustainable system where I feel like it is worth my time and effort, I'd definitely love to. Um, but the biggest thing I know that I was talking about with you is one thing that's great about the league for players is there being a minimum salary.
Right.
And even though it's like only 55,000, that's a lot of money for a person my age to make when I don't have any expenses. I don't have to pay for car, I don't have to pay for house and stuff. Like I'm really just paying for food. Um, so that's a lot of money, but if there isn't an ecosystem with like a minimum salary, I'm worried about what salaries might look like. And if I'm only going to be getting paid like 20 to 30,000, like I would rather just go to collegiate because in collegiate I'm going to get a full ride and I'll be able to go for a degree that'll make me more money in the future.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
that does make sense. It's not something that you could go full hard into. Plus, if you do go to collegiate when you're rolling through a degree and then you're playing collegiate, there'll be probably a lot of other players in your similar position. So
yeah.
it'll be a pretty competitive scene. But
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's a pretty smart way to look at it if you're a player. I mean, what are you studying right now? I can't remember.
Right now I'm studying business information systems, but
Ah,
I
yeah,
was thinking about swapping to cybersecurity when I go
yeah.
back. Uh,
Absolutely do that. I wish
yeah.
that I did that. Honestly, I had a really good friend that I used to work with in my first job. I had my first job for like 6 7 years or something. It was insane.
Okay.
But I worked with him a lot. He worked a lot of like Christmas kind of shifts. He wasn't like a full time I was part time, but I was there for like 6 years or whatever. But he went into cybersecurity like during his degree because he was a few years older than me, and he works for he did work for BAE Systems on the cybersecurity team, and like my god, that pays a lot, and it's like super engaging and like fun too. It's definitely a
Yeah.
degree where you can go very far.
There's so much you can do with that degree because
Yeah,
I know we were talking about this. My stepdad does cybersecurity stuff, and there's like a lot of fields, and again, like you said, the money's there, and we're probably
yeah,
always gonna need it. So I'm definitely gonna look into it. I do want to make sure it's something I enjoy doing. It sounds like
of
something I'd
course.
enjoy doing, but um, you know, um, I'm fine with what I'm doing right now, and we'll see when I go. If I go back, if I don't, I'll probably be playing Overwatch. But if not, then I'll be playing Overwatch in college. So either way, I'm playing Overwatch.
Not a bad thing. Not a bad
Yeah,
thing to do in your spare time. Play some Overwatch, earn some cash.
yeah,
I did want to touch on this because a lot of people, especially with it being your first year in the league, like a lot of the Korean players, a lot of them have quite storied histories. People like Violet, people have had a lot of tenure. Even some of the Korean contenders players, like a lot of them have been around for a long time. But let's rewind the clock back a little bit. Like, when was your first team where you first started actually competing properly?
like open to like
Yeah,
any team or like
first team that you started, like, yeah, in OD. Let's say that.
so trying to remember, man, because it's been a while. Well, I started playing Overwatch. I played Overwatch in season one, but it wasn't really my game at that time. I was still playing H1Z1.
Oh, okay.
Um, and then I think in like the middle of season two is when I like got into the game. And I think that season I got like Masters. And then season three I got GM, and I've been GM since. But uh, I started off as a DPS player.
Classic.
And
Okay.
then I was like, DPS is way too fucking hard, and like fuck this shit. And then I was like, okay, I want to play off tank because I like Zarya and Roadhog. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna play off tank. And then one of my first teams was playing off tank. I was on that team for like a couple, actually, I don't know if it was a couple months, but just a little bit. But after that, I was like, tank's not fun. I'm playing support more in ranked. Like at the time, my hours were probably looking like my most played was Ana with like 30 hours, and then like Diva and Zarya with like in the 10s to 15. So I wasn't even playing like my role. Like, so I was like, flex support is fun. It's very engaging. Zen, you can like kind of kill things.
Yeah, that's
And
always fun.
and at that time, I was friends with some of like the tier 2-ish, tier 3 players, like FRD, like
Yeah.
Fried Wiener. At like he was in like a tier 3 team at the time, like him and Karkar. And I just remember that this one contenders trials team at the time was trialing flex support. And I was like, well, I have pretty good mechanics. Like why not try and play flex support? So I tried out for that team. Unfortunately, I didn't make it. But that like kind of started my support career, and I was a flex support for a while. I went through open division, and eventually I made this contenders team called Revival,
Oh
which
yeah.
was basically like made from ex Mayhem Academy players after Mayhem cut the funding on them. And they just came off like a pretty good season, and I was best friends with like Apply, and through Apply I met a bunch of people. That's how I met Paint and Manitin and stuff like that. So I was like a bench player on that team, and that's kind of how I got like my foot into like tier 2. So after that it was kind of just playing on just a couple contenders teams. I went from Revival, and then I went back to Open Division, and then I rejoined Revival. And then after that, I joined a team called Kratos. That's how I met RuPaul and Crawley.
Right.
And then after Kratos was basically when I took a hiatus from competing. Um, Revival was trialing me again, but as a main support. And that was the team of like RuPaul, Seeker, LH Cloudy that went on to win contenders.
Yes.
And when I didn't make that team, I was just like, I need to like move on from Overwatch. Like it's been fun, but like I need to move on, and uh, I should use this to my advantage, because that's when I was starting to look at collegiate. I was like, well, I can probably get some money from a school to go to school and get some stuff paid for. So that's when I went collegiate, and the first college I went to was Winthrop. Some school, they don't really have a good Overwatch team, but they have like a good league team. And after a semester of there, that's when ISU reached out to me to come play for their school. And uh, when I got picked up there, the team was Gig, an ex Valiant player. RuPaul, everyone knows him. Iron, he's a tier 2 off tank player. And then Vision and Aiko. And Vision is on Maryville, and I don't think Aiko's playing the game anymore, but got on that team. Then that's when I was like pulled back in to like competing again. And yeah, just kind of was competing ever since. And then ISU made some roster changes, and some people left, and obviously RuPaul got picked up to Mayhem. And then that next semester, our team was Gig, Moving Fish, Vision, Lethal, me, and Renko, and we went on to basically dominate that whole semester. We won all the collegiate events, and then we also won contenders.
Ooh.
My first ever contenders win,
Hell
and
yeah.
that's when I thought to myself like, okay, maybe Overwatch League is realistic, because we just won contenders in December, and that's basically when off season's going on. So I was like, hey, maybe there is a chance that I could go Overwatch League. And yeah, basically during the off season, didn't I think I had one tryout with NYXL. Um, didn't feel like I did that well. And
Okay.
they obviously went with Lep. Um, and then I was like, all right, well, Owl's not gonna be a thing. I'm just gonna do college. Um, but obviously that's not what ended up happening. So, uh, obviously there was a lot of speculation with Valiant, like what was going on, and no one knew. Like I'm gonna tell you right now, like me getting picked up to Valiant was not like some elaborate like scheme we kept hidden. Like it was like 2 weeks before Pro-Am, 2 or 3 weeks before Pro-Am, and no one knew what Valiant was doing. And do you know who Natter is?
Oh, I've heard of him. Yeah.
So Natter was like on Atlanta as like an analyst and stuff, and he used to coach, and now he works at Riot. And Natter messaged me, and he was like, "Yo, do you know what's going on with Valiant?" I was like, "Bro, I have no fucking idea. Like, I have no idea." And I'm not bullshitting. A day or two later, I get a DM from Paintbrush saying, "Yo, accept Robert's friend request on Discord." And I was like, "Who the fuck is Robert?" Like, and he was like, "Yo, when can you call?" I was like I was coming back from getting Chick-fil-A. So I was like, when I get back. And I called him and he was like, "Yo, don't tell anyone." But I'm like basically the GM for Valiant in a sense where it's like I'm picking up all the players and I want to pick you up.
Okay.
And then I was like, what? Like, okay, I guess. And then I was like, what's the roster? And then, he told me, it was going to be me, CJ, Crawley, Nos, and Seeker. And I was like, all right, fuck it, bet. Like, I guess. And obviously, I knew that there was not going to be a team house or a lot of amenities that you would get from usually being on an Overwatch League team. But yeah, I guess that's how I got there. So, sorry, that was a big like
No, that's good.
overview. That was a
That was
big
good.
overview. But yeah, that's basically my whole competing summed up into about 10 minutes. Um if you want to I can now talk about the season if that's a good segue.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask, did you believe Paintbrush? You know what I mean? When he was kind of talking about this kind of stuff, because part of me, if I was in your shoes, I'd be like, "There's no way. Like, what is happening?" Because obviously, Pro-Am, like you mentioned, was so close. Like, that must have been a real. Like, is this a real life right now? Because obviously, you mentioned before too, it was kind of a dream of yours in a way to make Overwatch League, or at least you wanted to.
Yeah, so when Paint messaged me, I was like I was like caught off guard because I was like, how the fuck did Paint get into this position? And
Yeah.
then he was
Right.
like, well, I knew Robert from Mayhem Academy, and he is like the GM of Immortals. And he was basically told, you got to build an Overwatch League team. So he just went to Paint because that's who he knew. And once I added Robert, and he was messaging me, and he's like, hey, like I'm the GM from Immortals. We're part of Valiant. We need you to sign this contract like as soon as possible, basically. That's when I knew it was like, okay, like this is definitely real. Um, at first I was definitely not getting my hopes up too much because uh you never know what can happen. I've heard so many things of people being told they're getting picked up
Yeah.
and then they get
Oh yeah.
fucked over. So I wasn't gonna get excited until basically like I signed that contract. Um, then obviously, I get the contract and we start scrimming. Um, and then it was real, and I was like, well, shit. I guess I'm doing Owl now on
How did
top
the
of
scrims go
college.
initially?
Um, I'm not gonna lie, we actually weren't doing bad at first. We at the time we were stomping Vegas and NYXL. I'm not kidding. I think the first 4 or 5 scrims we played in Nixel,
Okay.
they got 6-0'd.
Ooh.
Um, yeah, like I thought NYXL was gonna be really bad when that happened because I was like, wow, you guys are getting shit on. Like, no offense, but like, uh, and then I remember scrimming Vancouver in one of our first scrims, and I think we took 2 maps off them, which I didn't expect us to, and the other maps were like relatively close. So the scrims at the beginning were looking promising because I was like, okay, we can play this Ram comp, and like all of us are rush players basically. It fit our hero pool. So I thought, hey, like this might not be as bad as I think we're making it out to be, because I'm not gonna lie, we had some very low expectations. Um, but yeah, the scrims went fine. But then after Pro-Am, I think the meta started shifting into what we saw,
Yes.
which was not the best meta for the LA Valiant, to say the least.
No, not perfect.
No, not perfect at all. It
Would,
was quite tragic.
Was there any like high ranked teams that you were scrimming as well, or is it mainly kind of like the Vegas, NYXL, like Excelsior, etc.? Or were you scrimming? Did you get a chance to scrim like Shock or anything or anybody like that?
This happened so long ago, so I can't give you specific names, but I think we were scrimming a good amount of teams. Like, London wasn't like the best at the beginning of the season, but we definitely were scrimming more the lower teams to middle of the pack. But maybe you'd sprinkle like one good team in there every week.
Okay.
That was that was basically how our scrims went for at least the first half of the season, because we were doing so awful. I mean, like, I wouldn't blame people not wanting to scrim us. Like,
Right.
we're also the Valiant are not scrim players. Like, we are definitely match day players.
Right. Okay.
We just
Show up.
we just show up on match days more. Even though obviously we only won 2 games, sometimes we looked a little bit more competitive than others. But yeah, the scrims. Yeah, just again at the end of the season, like the second half, I'm not kidding. We were scrimming Vegas, London, and NYXL. Not as much as NYXL, but like we were scrimming Vegas and London. Like we were scrimming one of them a day, sometimes both.
Right.
But yeah, at the beginning of the season though, I remember we scrimmed Atlanta.
Oh,
and
right.
and this is like when Atlanta's like the shit, like not when they choked, but I remember we were scrimming Atlanta and like we were getting shit on, but like we were still trying. And supposedly Gator said to, it was either Paint or our manager, he was like, yo, we really like scrimming with you guys because you guys just don't give up, even like when we're shitting on you. And we're like, okay, like, hey, the Atlanta Rain like scrimming us. And they're like, hey, like if we ever like need a block last minute, like definitely like we'll message you guys. So we ended up getting some more Atlanta blocks off that. But scrimmed Boston a little bit, and Mayhem. So
right. Oh yeah, tough opponents though. But yeah, you know what's funny? You mentioned that the Gator comment, because that was kind of the narrative on broadcast as well. It was like, you guys just don't give up. Like you do. There's no desperation there. Like or like depression there in the match. You're just like, oh well, it's over. It's done. It was like, you guys. That was the aura that the team was giving off that whole season. Was just like, you guys just go in. Like you don't care who the opponent is. You're there and you're going to play to the highest level you possibly can play, and you will take it to them as much as you can. Like it was cool. I think Valiant had a very cool season, especially around like, you only won a couple of games, but it was still fun. And like whenever me and Scott cast you guys, it was like, okay, this is going to be a fun game. Like it's going to be a good one. It's not going to be like a complete stomp. It's going to be competitive, and these guys are going to really push it to the limits.
Yeah. So again, like I said earlier, like we had very low expectations. Like
right. Was that the whole team as well, or is it just like yourself? Or
I'm not gonna name anyone, but
of course not. No.
There was definitely someone with a lot lower expectations than everyone else, and I think we can all come to a consensus of who that might be. But it's not like we didn't try, like you said. Like we're going to try and win, and that's one thing that Crawley and Seeker said, because they played last year, is like, it doesn't matter how good or bad you guys are, anything can happen on match day.
Yep.
And one thing that you can just instantly link to that is the Mayhem match, the first one, where we took 2 maps off them. and everyone was like, "What the fuck?" Like, I guarantee no one expected us to one take two maps and two potentially beat them. Like, obviously the last map wasn't as close, but I mean, taking two maps against Mayhem was a very big achievement at the time for us. So if you downplayed to us and we were playing good that day, we could definitely take a map off you, or potentially beat you, like against Glads, but not really against any other team besides Vegas.
Hey, that Glads game was one of the funnest games of all time that season, for sure. Like,
yeah,
your clutch at the end, obviously everybody, that's why I was just like, oh my fucking god, Lyar, like, the whole like white Chio thing and all this kind of stuff was the big meme at the time. And like, dude, that Glads game was unreal. Like, because me and Scott cast that too, and it was one of the funnest games I've had all season. Like, regardless of ban. Yeah, we casted that shit at the very end. And like, I just see your name filling the kill feed, I'm like, a Lyar, like going crazy and shit. It was, oh my god, it was, and like no one expected that either. And that was crazy because that's when Glads were like, oh, these guys might not make playoffs. Like, this is crazy for the Glads org. And, you taking to and winning the battle for LA too. Of all the teams you could have won against in a map 5.
That is so funny because, like, you couldn't have written a better script for that game.
Right.
Like, it was a reverse sweep, battle of LA.
Exactly.
And like, obviously, like, I mean, everyone's always going to talk about my clutch, but like, it was a team effort. Like, we were all playing very good after that what was it, the second map? I don't remember what it was, but on Jib we started turning up, and we never full held anyone in scrims on that map ever, and we did it in a match. And we were like, we even typed, I don't know if you guys saw it in the thing, but I typed something like, we've never full held this map before, like, we aren't good. And then Kai typed something like, apparently we aren't either. Like, it was just
I think I remember that Kai comment. I think because it's not always shown on broadcast depending on the obs that's like on it at that time, if they have match chat hidden or not. But yeah, I think I remember that Kai comment. Yeah, that's crazy.
And then like the Saravasa, or not Saravasa, sorry, Esperanza. We started playing that Queen comp, and no one could beat us on that comp unless like you were like Atlanta or like Mayhem. Like, against like basically every other team, we started becoming really good at that comp on that map. And then again, like, Lee Jang's just Lee Jang, because that last round, we fumbled very, very hard. Like, we won the first fight and we got to pick the second fight, and we ended up losing somehow. So like, if we lost that would have been so depressing. But
I mean, Kev was on fire that series too.
Yeah.
Which was crazy. Like, the whole, after the third and fourth map, I think me and Scott were like, Kev's, as broadcast, like, narrative setting, right? We were like, Kev's pissed. Like, Kevster is about to go off on this last map, or like go off on the fourth map. Like, they do not want to lose. And he was dominating. And that was kind of a theme actually with Gladiators over there around the time that you guys played. That like, Kevster was always the one like carrying the game. But he just couldn't carry hard enough for
I mean, Valiant. That game was just legendary. And one thing that Unter said to me at the Toronto LAN, he literally came up to me, first thing he said is like, how do you feel that you ended the Gladiators season? Because supposedly they were not very happy in that camp after that game, which I mean, listen, obviously I was in the same boat when we were losing to Vegas. Like, I don't want to be the first person to give this team a win, but you're Glads. Like, you guys had an amazing first half. Obviously, it sucks to lose, but like, that should not ruin the whole team's like, mental, in my opinion. I know it's easier said than done, but like, I feel like I have a pretty strong mental after this season. So that's just my 2 cents. Yeah. Also, I want to ask something. Can I use the bathroom?
Yeah.
Are we allowed to use the bathrooms?
I will stop the recording right now. Okay, welcome back. We just took a brief break. All good. We're back though. I'm not sure how long that was, but there you go. Timer has been reset. There was a question actually I did want to ask you. Because I've asked a few people this, like Astro and whatnot, and I'm always curious. because this being your first time in the league, obviously you've been watching the league since its inception, right, or close to its inception. So,
Yeah,
is
I've
there any
been
player that you were like nervous to play against, or any player that you kind of looked up to prior to going in or joining the league?
I don't think I ever felt nervous um going into. Okay, well, I felt nervous playing an owl. I don't know if I ever felt nervous about playing against a specific player because we already have that like underdog mentality where it's like, listen, this is gonna be hard. We just like you can't be scared of someone. I think it might have been different if I got picked up to like a, an already established team where I know that all of my other teammates have a lot of experience and maybe I feel like I'm the one like weighing people down, if that makes sense. But I enjoyed playing against like friends, like RuPaul. I always love playing against Mayhem because like, I'm always gonna try like at the end of the fight I'm always gonna try and go kill RuPaul or something and
Yeah, of
then
course.
teabag him or something. For people that I guess like not idolized, but looked up to is, I mean, when I first became a main support, I did watch a lot of Funny Astro. Um, he, in my opinion, has probably been the best Lucio in the game for a long time now. Um, but I never felt nervous playing against him specifically. I think a lot of the people that I like really, really idolized was like Jonak,
Right.
obviously at the beginning, because at that time I wasn't really a known player, and guy was the goat season one. There's no debating it. He was so good. But I think for this season, I mean, obviously playing against like Chio and like Funny Astro, I'm like, oh, okay, like I would be pressing tab to like see the stats, be like, yeah, am I diffing him or is he diffing me? Like, hey, if I get better stats, I'm using that as bragging rights. But um, yeah, I wasn't really nervous, more excited than anything, I'd say though.
Yeah, I mean, makes a lot of sense because there's nothing there to really prove to anybody, right? And I think that's what you just mentioned. It's just like, well, I'm coming in, but I'm not on an established team. A lot of us have maybe dabbled in the league here and there, like Seeker was on Boston, but you're coming in as basically a fresh squad, and you're like, well, we'll show you what we can kind of do. And if it did end up with you guys only taking a couple of series, but I think you made an impression. I think a lot of Valiant players made an impression on the league, which was good for the brand, I think, and good for you guys in general, because people, like I said before, people just kind of enjoyed watching you guys play, regardless of the outcome. It was you were a fun team to actually watch. You mentioned at the very beginning too with like the metas, and your hero pools very much coincide with a rush meta, and it did
Yes.
end up going towards the Sombra and the Winston. Was that something how did you think about going into that meta? Because you must have been like, we kind of have to force the Sombra Winston. Is there any a point where you guys were like, well, actually, we just want to play this one comp, but like, how was the mentality and
So,
like, what was the decision making there?
so I actually was on the foot of I don't think we should be playing this comp, because I'm just gonna be honest, our dive was shit. Like it
Yeah.
was not good. Like it was horrible. Like we were getting full held a lot in scrims on like maps. Like if we played a ramp comp, we would at least win some fights. But I think we had this idea in our head. It's like, okay, like yes, we're good at rush. It's not ideal, right? And I think we might have drawn some inspiration from London, where it's like, okay, these guys are the rush gods. If they're not playing rush, why would we play rush? Which
Right.
I don't think we probably should have done. But um yeah, I wrote in my twit longer after the season, or in my tweet saying like, yeah, I think committing to the dive wasn't the right decision because we were trying to like expand our hero pools, which hey, I can't blame us for trying to get better, but I think we just did it too long, and I just think that it wasn't the right decision looking back at it. Um but at least coming into the second half, after we had that like huge break in the middle, we did look better at the dive. I mean, obviously we full held like glads on it, and like whether you want to say glads were shit, this half, I'm gonna tell you right now that their dive should, in theory, be a lot better than ours. Like they have good players for like for that comp. So we
Right.
did get better, but you know, maybe if we played the rush, we could have taken more maps, maybe a series or two. So that's basically it.
Yeah, no, that's pretty fair. I think taking inspiration from London was quite interesting because they also ended up playing Winston and stuff like that, and it was like, oh, they're not that good at that comp, like compared to everybody else and the level that people were playing at that point.
Yeah.
And then they just went back to Rhine and they dominated amidst playoffs. So, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
curious if you guys would have changed your mind if London didn't change their mind in that case. Then, if London kind of stuck at Rush, maybe you guys would have been like, well, if they're sticking, we can go there as well.
Maybe. I don't think it was like a huge contributing factor, but I do think it might have been like a conversation. Again, like
Okay.
I kind of block out the first stage like trauma. Like I don't want to think about that shit. Um, but yeah, I definitely think we could have stuck more to the Ram because like even when we would scrim London in the first half and we would scrim each other on Monkey, like they would beat us. Like they would not
Right.
look like a bad dive team. And I'm gonna tell you right now, their dive was not good. I mean, you saw it in the second half when we played London in our match. They went up 2-0 and then they went to Rado and got full held. Like
Yeah.
that's how much our dive did improve. But compared to the rest of the league, like we like as much as we were improving, everyone else was improving just as much, it like if not more. So I think we, again, like if we stuck to that RAM and stuff, it probably would have worked out a lot better.
Do you have any regrets about the season?
Yeah. I definitely could have worked a lot harder. I think I also got frustrated a lot. Even though my expectations were low, I'm a competitive person at the end of the day. I wasn't yelling at my teammates or anything, but like I definitely like was taking it maybe a little too hard on myself. And I think in the first half of the season, I was grinding the game a lot more, like playing, and I wasn't doing as much VODing. But I think in the second half, I was doing a lot more VODing than like playing comp. Ideally, you should be doing both, but unfortunately, I wasn't doing that. But at least one thing I guess I can take away is in the second half, I did feel way, way more confident in myself as a player. Especially after the Glads game. Like that really solidified my thinking of like, okay, like obviously, Valiant we're not the best team. That's just a reality. But I did gain a lot of confidence in myself as a player after that to like make plays and to actually like trust my judgment and stuff. So yeah, I have some regrets, but I think I mostly came out this season with positives, if anything.
What was your biggest positive coming out of the season?
Well, again, I think it just came back to where I really feel like I solidified myself more as like a player that's not horrible. Which is always a good thing.
Definitely.
When it comes to like Western main supports, like I definitely like my chances more now. If I were to like compete against others. And I think I did learn a lot about myself throughout this season. And again, I did learn a lot this season. I definitely feel way better of a player. So I guess I'm just happy again, like with how I came out, just knowing more, understanding more, and getting better.
I feel like even if you learn a lot about yourself, that's kind of a W anyway.
Yeah.
Like, especially at your age at the moment, it's just, I feel like I say your age and I'm like, yeah, I'm around the same age as him. And like, actually, I'm not. I'm like fucking 30. But
Yeah.
it's just like, it's a good thing. And like understanding yourself a little bit more and like, like you said, pushing your limits and maybe you can take that elsewhere, I mean, the whole like competing, I think, has a big driving force behind other aspects of your life more than people really like to admit or maybe understand. So yeah, I mean it's definitely, I think it's a good experience regardless of like your record. You can even say the same for like Paris Eternal or Vegas Eternal, sorry. You know, they did go winless, but they probably learned a lot about themselves and a lot about like just an environment like that, and maybe there's positives there that they can kind of hold on to. I did want to ask actually, was Overwatch your first competitive game, or did you play like, because you said you played H1Z1, right? But was there
Yeah.
anything
You
like
mean
competitive
like
before that?
I played on like a team, or like I was like aspiring to go pro in,
Either.
or just like in general? So, yeah, like I was saying earlier, like my first ever like game I got into was I got an Xbox 360 and I got Call of Duty Black Ops 1. And Black Ops 1 was like fucking sick to me. Like I was like, yo, this is awesome. Like they got gold camos, there's prestigious, I'm shooting people, there's like party chat, team chat, like I'm just shit talking people at like 11. Like it's great. Like I'm having a fun time. And that like introduced my addiction into video games. And over the course of the next couple of years, I played the CODs casually. I think I played MW3 casually, Black Ops 2 casually. But Black Ops 2 had this thing called League Play.
I played the shit out of League Play. I
Yes.
was master or whatever the top rank was
Yeah,
on
the top rank.
360
Yeah.
and EU. Yeah,
Yeah.
good
So
times.
I was like, yo, like League Play's like kind of cool. And I played it in Black Ops 2, and I think I maybe only got like silver or something. I wasn't that good at the time. But then Call of Duty Ghosts came out next year, and I know a lot of people have controversial opinions on that game, but I will stand by this and say that is my favorite Call of Duty of all time.
Oh, that
Not in the sense of it
that's
is the
crazy.
greatest game. It is, to
Right.
me, the greatest competitive COD I've ever watched or played. The search and destroy in that game was awesome. And that's when I got into like game battles and stuff. And that's when I actually
Okay.
started getting a lot better at the game. I started like playing pubs way more. I was getting like 2.0 KDs. I was playing game battles. I think I was like ranked 3,000, 2,000 on game battles. And like that made me like, I always wanted to be a pro because I was watching like Nadeshot and Scump, which obviously, you know, the
Classic.
goats of COD. Um, and that's when I was like, yo, I want to be a professional gamer. Like I want to be a pro. And Advanced Warfare came out, and wasn't really my thing. And my childhood friends at the time got computers, and they were playing Counter Strike, like CS:GO. And they were like, "Yo, Will, you need to get a fucking like you need to get a PC so we can play like DayZ and CS:GO." And I'm like, fuck it, bet. Like I'm gonna get one for Christmas. So I asked my dad and my mom if I could get a computer, and I got some shitty Dell desktop with like a GTX 750 or something. I mean, maybe that wasn't shitty, but looking back to me, it's shitty. Um, and I started playing CS:GO a lot, and that's when I really got hooked into video games. I mean, I could probably check right now. Let me open my Steam. Let me check my account. I have 5,000 hours on CS:GO.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
those are
And
some numbers.
yeah, so I um I kind of turned into like the friend in our friend group that's like Will is the gamer, and if you give him a game, he will probably get better than you. Like I became like this guy can pick up any fucking game. And I got into CS, and I would play with my friend Clayton from my hometown. And I think we got all the way up to like LEM together.
Ooh.
And then I started playing like Face It and shit and ESCA. And at the time, ESCA, I don't know if you know anything about like the ranking in ESCA for CS, but now it's on like a letter based scale.
Yes. Right.
And I didn't, and I played at the time where it was just RWS. And I played that game to the point where my RWS was like around 16, 17, which is like pretty good. Like I wouldn't say it's like pro, but I was definitely probably like playing like tier 3 people.
Okay.
Sometimes tier 2. There was this one time I was playing like a game, and I was just shitting on this guy with the P250, and I stole his profile picture and stuff, and he was like, "I'm gonna report you." And this guy was like, this guy left a horrible comment on my profile, and I went back like 2 years later, and he was like, not rank S, which is like pro, it's the one before that, like you're a semi-pro kind of tier 2, tier 3. So I got pretty good at that game, and
Damn, okay.
I was like global eventually, and I was trying to like try out for teams to play in like CS Open or ESEA Open or whatever. And didn't really have any luck doing that. I was carrying though, like I wasn't playing bad or anything. I remember the first time I ever tried out for a team in CS:GO, we 16-0'd the other team, and I had 30 kills, and they didn't pick me up. What happened? Like,
yeah, what the hell happened there? That would have been a very different life path actually if you went down to the CS route. Wow.
yeah, so I played CS, and then I think like 2016, 2015, 2016, somewhere in that time area, I like was losing interest, and that's when I heard of a game called H1Z1. And I don't know if anybody watching this, or if you Jaws like ever played H1Z1 in its prime.
Not in its prime. I played at the very end, I think, whenever it was like,
yeah, no, I played it when like us OG players call it Z1, like,
right,
because it was like the original map. That is the greatest game I've ever played. It is the most fun I've ever had on any video game. The mechanics were like janky, but it was good, and proximity chat in that game was fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I remember the ninja clips.
That game was just so fun to me, and I met a lot of people on that. Actually, I mean, I don't like to go going around saying it, but well, me and Apply, that's how me and Apply met. Me and Apply have been friends since like 2015, so I've known him for a long, long time. But like, there's other streamers out there, like obviously Tfue came from that game, Cloaksy came from that game, T-Hump, I don't know if you know who that is, but he's also some other type of streamer, obviously Ninja.
Yeah.
But I used to be like friends with like Cloaksy and stuff way back in the day. I had my first ever beer with Cloaksy.
Oh,
on
wow,
like,
okay.
on like Skype, and like that's just so random to me that now this dude's like a famous person. Oh, like Symphony also played. There's so many people that came from that game,
yeah,
that are famous now, that I like, not like friends with, but like mutuals of in some type of way. Like Tfue, I used to hang out with Tfue a little bit and stuff, and obviously that guy became fucking shit's crazy.
Yeah,
Maybe
he's popping off.
Maybe I should have stuck to BR, but yeah. And then obviously Apply got me into Overwatch and stuff, and yeah, now I'm here.
Now you're here. That's a crazy, like, hey, if you stuck to BR, you'd be one of the big streamers right now.
Streaming is like, I don't know how people stream. Like,
it's tough.
I have to, yeah, like people, obviously gamers say it, but like being a pro at video games and like basically streaming like it's a 9 to 5, it is draining. It is very draining. Especially streaming, because whenever I stream, I always feel like I need to be entertaining. I always feel like I need to be funny, and then I feel like I'm not funny, or it's not genuine. So that's like why I like when I go on like a vast stream or something. I'm just there hanging out. I'm just being me. But when I turn like a stream on, it's just like I always feel the need to perform, and I'm just like, I don't like that.
Yeah, I mean that's half the content is just like you, and just, well, most of the content, you'd argue, right? Like 90% is I think there's a very select few people, and most of them are the biggest streamers on Twitch. Like Super's a really good example. He's really funny. He's also really good at the game. There's not many people that are like that at all. Like, you can be really good at the game, or you can be really funny, you know what I mean? Like, you could be a Ludwig of the world, you know? He's okay at games, but like, he's very funny, and he's very good at making content and stuff like that, and yeah, it's
why
a tough thing to do.
That's why a lot of pros try and stream after like playing. Not everyone, but I've been in talks with some people, like if OWL isn't a thing, like they're gonna try and stream.
Yeah, not surprised.
And I'm like, hey, like, go for it. But it's hard, man. It's fucking hard, because in Overwatch, there is, the way I think about it is, Overwatch's fan base is not as edgy as some other fan bases.
Sure.
Like uh I just feel like a lot of the top streamers are very like PMA. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just like when I think of like Emong and Flats and like ML7, like they're very PMA, like good people, and they don't really make like dark humor. They don't try and be edgy. And like I'm just gonna be honest, a lot of these like pro players are edgy in a sense. Like their humor is not of that of like ML7s and Emongs and Flats and stuff. So that's why I think like streaming in this game like is kind of difficult for those type of players and streamers because there's a very what's the word I'm trying to look for? Like particular audience
Got you.
that you're trying to go out to, and I don't feel like there's as many people like that in this game. But
Yeah,
that's
I
just how
think when it comes to like the top streamers in various games, I think it's interesting to look at across the board. Overwatch is like the Overwatch League and the pro scene isn't as popular of like a streaming topic or like pro players streaming as it is in like CS. A lot of like the CS heads, it's like, well, simple, best player in CS history, right? Or one of the best. He can stream and he will stream his gameplay, and like a lot of people watch him because it's like pro player playing, you know, pubs or playing, you know, ranked, face it, ESAA or whatever. And then in Overwatch, it's like the top streamers are, it's more like casual focus. ML7 or Karku's a very good example of that, actually. Karku, I think he's one of the best content creators out there for Overwatch, but his crossover with Overwatch League is very minimal. It's not like a crazy amount there.
Yeah.
He just streams content and he puts out really good, high quality videos. He's a funny guy and he sits there on stream just playing ranked, playing support, and it's just the crossover is just not there. Emong, Flat, same thing. J3, same thing. It's like they're not pros. Or J3 was a pro, right? Emong was a pro.
Yeah.
But
that's not who they're catering to.
They're not. No.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I also won't like you were saying about CS simple. CS is rooted at its core for competitive. No one's playing CS:GO to play quick play or unrated. Like the unrated in that game is horrible. Like everyone is playing so that they can play comp. Valorant is obviously the competitive scene's big there, but there are a lot of people that only play unrated or like Swift play or something. But like Overwatch, there are so many people that just play quick play. It's crazy to me. And I remember back in the day, I mean, people probably still do this, but like people would only play comp to get the golden guns. Like they would get to that rank and then they're like, all right, I'm not fucking playing. Like, and people would get mad at them. Like I probably used to get mad at them. I definitely did, where it's just like, bro, why is this horrible player on my team that plays 20 games a season, and out of all the games that they queue into, it's mine? So it's just like, Overwatch is, I don't know, it's such a different game than anything else I've ever played. It's just so unique.
It is. And the top end versus like the lower end, or like quick play versus grandmaster, top 500 ranked, they're different games. And then when you get to the pro level, it's a different game as well. Like the tiers to it are insane. And I think that's, I don't think I've ever talked about this before, but I think that's what makes Overwatch beautiful in a way. Is the top level play is just so far and above and beyond like a ranked system. You take like Diamond gameplay versus GM gameplay. They are two completely different games. I can jump into a Plat Diamond game on like a Smurf or something, and it's just, I'm just playing. I just play Tracer and I can just kill the backline over and over again. Like, although my aim on Tracer is pretty bad at this point, but I've not played Tracer in a while, but still it's, and then you play in GM, it's just like, holy moly. And then when you play in top 500, it's like, whoa, a different level. And then pro play is like, and that's what makes Overwatch beautiful. If you watch the highest level of pro play, it's like synchronized swimming in a way, where like setting up dives and going for like a good example is the Sombra Winston meta, the dive meta, like going for hacks on somebody and then executing that dive and they die in a blink of an eye. And like that is beautiful in its own way. And then you're never going to get that in ranked. Maybe you will, but like not as consistently.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you're like duoed with someone, or like if you comp, like a lot of people don't even like to comm in ranked anymore.
Yeah, not anymore. No, everything's dead at high elo.
Yeah, it's just, that's one thing that you were like I want to add on to is, I did like a coaching session last night with like a gold player, and
Okay.
I was introducing the idea of like, yo man, you're playing like a Ryan comp, like make sure you're always tied to your Ryan's hip so you can amp the engages in, or like, if you get a kill, like he was playing against some weird ass comp, and like I was like, yo, you got a kill here, you see the mercy, if he goes for that res, boop him, and he's like, bro, I never fucking thought of that, which is crazy because it's just like you said, like in different elos, how you think about the game is so much different, and that's
Yeah.
like that in every game. But like you said, I could go into a diamond game on like Zen, and I could just flank the whole game and carry. I could literally deadlift the game, like, and you can do that in other games. Like I've definitely smurfed in like CS:GO when I was global and stuff, but like at least like at the bare core of the game, it's the same. It's the same on CS:GO. The thing is, I just understand how to play the map better than these guys, and like my timing is usually a lot better. And obviously, I'll probably have better aim, but it's not as huge of a difference than in Overwatch, which is also like why that I wanted to bring this up, is I feel like a lot of people get burnt out in Overwatch a lot quicker
Yeah.
than any other game, is because
Why
again,
do you think that is?
because there's so many metas and there's so
Mhm.
many maps, and how you play certain metas on maps can change. Like let's say it's a dive mirror. All right, well, if let's say you were playing rush before, now playing dive on this map, it's played completely different. How you're taking space is completely different. And then let's say if you're not playing into a dive mirror, you're playing a dive into like a brawl, or you're playing a dive into a poke. How you play that into that comp is completely different as well. Obviously, there's a lot of repetitive things, but there are things that are different. Like you're basically having to learn like one comp on a map and how to play it into a bunch of shit if you're not playing into a mirror. So I think that burns a lot of people out, because it's like, bro, this is a lot. This is a lot of like work, a lot of auto viewing,
Yeah.
and on top of that, everybody expects you outside of scrims to go play ranked for like 3 to 4 hours. Like it's a lot, man.
Yeah, and ranked is just a completely different beast too, and the differences between the two elevated compared to other games. Like if you're playing Face It, like you're playing scrims in CS, and then you play Face It, you're kind of expecting the same thing. It's not as coordinated and stuff, but like you said, the variance in Overwatch with every character being able to be picked, like every character being good in different metas, and I think something that I think was discussed a while ago. I've definitely talked about the subject before, maybe on Plat Chat, but Overwatch as well doesn't have a lot of downtime. There's a lot of like,
You need to be min-maxing
you're
at the
dead.
highest level. Yeah.
Yes, you're dead. You're going in. You're going in. You need to just permanently be on it. CS and stuff, and Valorant as well. There is a lot of downtime in those games. It's played a lot slower. Like with entries and stuff, they can be very quick, but in general, the way I like to see it is Overwatch is very like, oh my god, just like constant action, and then CS is like, okay, Valorant's like slow, begin the rounds, setting up and all this kind of stuff, and then it's like crazy action. But Overwatch is like go all the time. Like you said, min maxing too is just you have to min max every ability, every cooldown.
Like in CS:GO, like back when I would play the game, if I had food and I was hungry, I'd literally run it down, and so I could eat. And like that happens in pro play. Like let's say you go for like I used to entry in CS:GO. So like let's say I go for an entry and I die. All right, and then your team's like, cut the fucking push off. There's a minute and 15 seconds left in this round. We're gonna take the next minute to fucking play with these guys' head. Like it's a chess game.
Yeah.
Not saying Overwatch isn't. Like you have to outplay them, but like the time in that game is just like you said. There's so
Overwatch
much
is speed chess versus normal chess like CS.
It's speed chess, so it's like you constantly have to be making moves on the fly, constantly like thinking. But like you said, like in CS:GO, like if I want to go eat my food, I'm just gonna run it down on a bomb site and die hopefully.
Yeah.
But yeah, Overwatch is just. But that's the beauty of the game, though.
Yep.
It's like a double-edged sword. It's like, yeah, it's tiring at sometimes, but it's also so fun because once you get it down and you understand, it's so rewarding.
It is a very rewarding game, and like just not even just getting good aim, but like good use of your abilities, like getting things off at the right time, like taking space, like all those small things do add up, and it is very rewarding. It's like Zen's definitely one of my favorite characters, Zen and Ana for sure, and like getting good sleeps, getting good aim with Zen, like all that kind of stuff is very rewarding. Like when you're dueling tracers as Ana or Zen, you kill them with Zen, you maybe sleep them as Ana, like that feels good, and it's just the serotonin hit is just different.
Hitting a 5 orb on Zen is like insane feeling. You just hear the
something
in your head. It's just like, oh my god.
There's something in the brain, bro. That I still remember the clip, and I have it on my PC of me in Overwatch 1 against Scott, actually against Custer, 5 orbing through a window and getting 3 kills. And I'm like,
that was him or against he windowed you?
No, I had the window from my team. And like I 5 orbed, I killed him and like 2 of his teammates in one 5 orb, and I was like, that I am never going to live a better moment in my life than this one right here.
Yeah,
that was the most satisfying thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, like when shit happens like that, like when I clutched against Glads, like bro, I was having a euphoric moment. My mind was coming. Like I did not know what was going on. Like we have the comms, I was spaced out for the next 20 minutes. I couldn't believe what just fucking happened. Like my hands were shaking. Like I was like, what the fuck did I just do? And you're doing that at the highest level, which is even more dope. Like to your head, it's just like, holy shit, man! Like everything stacked on top. It was just love.
Did you say you have those comms? Do you still have them?
I believe so. I don't think I'd like to share it on the podcast because I don't know
that's fine.
What would be said.
No. Like, I'm just curious because obviously a lot of teams, they do end up doing like the mic check, the comms check things, but people love that stuff. And I think this year we've not done as many comms checks. I think maybe there's only been 1 or 2. I can't remember, but like those are one of the best bits of content.
Yeah, there was one for mid-season, and I forget when I was telling you this. It might have been at the bar, but I was saying like if I was so sad that they were didn't do comms check this year because we would have had the best moments on comms check and it wouldn't have been close. We had some of the funniest moments like ever. Like when we would load up into Shambali, we had this song. I forget what it's called, but it's like, now you're just Shambali that I used to know. Shambali. And we would just sing that going into the fucking map. Like I guarantee the people would have loved that. Like everybody loves the Valiant, and like we just had a lot of dumb moments and stuff. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I was like really, really sad when we were always like, bro, when is comms check coming out? Like, and then we were just like, I guess it's never coming out.
Yeah, I think that may have got affected by, because halfway through the season, like a ton of people got laid off, so it was potentially something to do with that, but I obviously couldn't be sure. I'm curious if there's going to be like more content, or at least more like comms related things in the future for Overwatchers, not knowing what the Overwatch landscape is going to look like, Overwatch esports at least. I want content like that to come back, because I think it's almost an integral part, I think, of the scene, because it is fun, and it's just, people love hearing from the players.
Every pro scene needs to have an outlet that, like, whether it's interviews or comms checks or whatever, I definitely think there needs to be something, because like you said, with the uncertainty of what's like gonna happen, like who knows? Like if there is something next year again, like what is it gonna look like? Which is I wanted to ask you that, like what do you think? Like obviously we can always ask like what's your ideal scenario, but we never get ideal in Overwatch. But like what do you think we could be looking at next year? I'm flipping the script. Now I'm the host.
Now you're the host. I don't know. I really don't. I just want to be able to, I just want to be able to cast the game and like,
I just want to make a living.
Yeah. Well, yeah, in a way I do, but like casting for me is like playing for you. It's so rewarding and satisfying getting like good calls and like improving at commentary and like play-by-play. It's just, I want to do it every single day, and I would do it every single day if I could. It's just not the kind of job where I can do that, sadly.
I just want to. It's hard. Like commentating is hard.
It is tough. Yeah, I think people underestimate it a little bit, but it's definitely a craft that needs to be honed, and it's tough to do that as well, because you can't get on broadcast every day and try something new, or like, you know, just practice. It's tough to do that kind of thing. So yeah, in a sense, the simplest answer I can say is just like, I want a job. Like I just want to Overwatch esports to continue, whether it's like a circuit kind of format where it's like League of Legends, where we have an EU region, an NA region, a region in Asia, whether that's like Oceanic or like LCK with League of Legends, where it's like Korea, China, although I don't know what's going to happen with China and Overwatch and that kind of stuff, or maybe it's just like the whole of Asia, I'm not sure, but just like those regions, then I can commentate NA, for example, like something like that would be fantastic. But it's so hard to tell because we've had this thing for 6 years that anything that I kind of think about in my head, I'm like, that could happen, but also it couldn't. Like, how do we really stray away from this Florida Mayhem, LA Valiant, Houston Outlaws thing? Are those teams going to still exist? Are they still? Is there going to be a regional format, and are they going to be in it? Are they going to? Is the Dallas Fuel going to permanently be in Korea, and they change their name to the Busan Fuel or something? You know what I mean? It's so hard for me to really think about and like extrapolate from, and
they've definitely put themselves into like a corner where it's like it's either all right, if we're gonna continue some type of league, like what type of changes are we gonna make? And if we aren't doing a type of league, like you said, if we do something regional, what's gonna happen to teams like the Florida Mayhem? Which I guess we could say, like, for whatever, is maybe we move away from cities, but we can just take it to Misfits Mayhem or the Envy Fuel or something. Obviously, it might not go as well together, but like, yeah, I do agree. Like, what happens to all this branding, and like what the fuck happens to these Twitter accounts? Like, if the Dallas Fuel isn't a thing, what happens to the Dallas Fuel account? Like, is it just gonna sit there as like a collection piece for someone?
Maybe. I mean, I think the only other time this has happened has been Halo 3, I think, where MLG had Straight Rippin', Triggers Down, Status Quo, Instinct, Final Boss, like all those teams that had the branding like Overwatch did. This was like before Twitter too, so like they didn't have the Twitter accounts or anything like that. It was just like Game Battles teams. Yeah, Final Boss were like Walshy, the Ogre Twins, like Instinct with Ghosty Army, Gandhi, like all these like old players, like Straight Rip in the classic, like Element Warrior, Snipe Down, Legit, and oh my god, T2 obviously, Tom Taylor, who casts Apex now, funnily enough, but they had that kind of branding and those team names that were like a consistent factor in the MLG tournaments, but it was like an open. They would always make it through opens because they were the best players and all that kind of stuff. Maybe, and they kind of got retired and, well, Straight Rippin', I think the brand got bought potentially, and they're like in partnership with Space Station Gaming now. So maybe those brands like continue, and maybe the partnership kind of changes hands. Maybe if certain teams don't want to kind of carry on, or certain ownership groups don't want to carry on, maybe that branding will continue via someone else. It's tough to say. But then also it could be a Valorant situation where we have like a Valorant league with partnerships, but it's like stipends, and then but there's still a league, and there's like, but then there's promotion, you know, and there's tier 2 events that lead to this promotion. It's very hard to see a world without the Overwatch League, and I don't think, for me at least, it's hit yet.
Yeah, it definitely hasn't hit yet, because it's like we don't know. Like, we still don't fully know. One thing I wanted to say is, like, for me personally, I kind of feel like this whole city branding kind of dug a hole. Like, obviously, in theory, it's very cool, but I forget who I was talking to. I think I might have asked you about this, but like, when you create these teams, they're a sub branch of an organization, right? Like, like the Florida Mayhem, obviously they're part of Misfits, but it's not Misfits. So I feel like, I think it was Avast, and I was like, well, like, how does funding work for these teams, and like, how does sponsorships work? Because instead, do you have to get sponsors specifically for the Florida Mayhem instead of Misfits, or does Misfits partners trickle down into the Florida Mayhem sponsorships? So I kind of feel like obviously it's very cool to do a city, but I just don't think we're there yet. And I think it would probably just be smarter to go back to orgs, because it's cool that we have Florida Mayhem fans, but imagine you had all those Florida Mayhem fans now on top of your other Misfits fans,
Right.
and you could have just had something bigger. But I feel like we're kind of limiting ourselves, and like, yeah, just basically limiting ourselves to cities. I don't know. And I personally, like, I think it's cooler when you're being repped by an org. Like, yo, I'm on Immortals, because Immortals is a pretty legendary org. They have had a lot of success in games, and like their org is fucking sick. But instead I'm on the Los Angeles Valiant, which
Right. Okay.
I would rather rep Immortals.
It's interesting because I think for the fans, because we had this discussion on Plat Chat, and a lot of us were like, well, does the city base kind of work? Do the fans actually kind of like that? And a lot of people came out the woodwork and was like, yeah, that's actually how I got into the league, was like, oh, I'm from Boston. They have a team now, Boston Uprising. And so I'm going to support Boston, no matter, who they are or who they have. And like, they just kind of support them. But then on the other hand, if it was like TSM, C9, maybe there's more like endemic esports watchers that would come in, but then it's who you're trying to cater for. And it will be interesting to see if they do drop city branding, if those fans are going to trickle to different teams, maybe to different players on certain teams. It's all a big unknown. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges that they're probably going to have to overcome is, what are they going to do with the Boston Uprising brand, Mayhem, Florida Mayhem? Is it going to be Misfits Mayhem, or is it just going to be Misfits? Is it just going to be like Cloud9 for London?
Florida Misfits or something.
Yeah, right.
Well, here's the thing is, obviously there's definitely going to be people that like, yo, I got into this because of the team-based things, which is great. For the people that actually get in. But like for branding, I'm just thinking like, maybe you could have done Florida Misfits or LA Immortals or LA, what was Glad's before? Was it always Guard? LA Guard?
I think it was someone else before that. I can't remember. It might just been an ownership group. I don't think it was like an actual team.
Yeah, so I guess like there's definitely good and bad to the city connects. Whether we're like talking about like, okay, if we get rid of the city names now, I definitely feel like if there isn't like a team, so like for example, like obviously Mayhem is directly correlated to Misfits. So if Misfits has a Mayhem team, all those Mayhem fans are most likely going to be fans of Misfits. And if there's other teams like that with like, Dallas, London and stuff like that, where you have like an org, probably a lot of those fans will just go and support the org. But for the teams that don't have like a straight up org like those, then I don't really know. I don't know what those.
Maybe they just get free reign. Maybe they just get free reign over the name, and maybe they'll just even keep the name.
Yeah, you could maybe keep the name. Another thing, this I just thought of this is like, when we did all this city stuff, I felt like there was not a lot of diversity when it came to apparel.
Okay.
Specifically in jerseys. I felt like this year we probably had the most diversity, because there was more colors and different patterns and stuff, which I feel like we should have been having since the beginning, because it's kind of annoying that all your jerseys are the exact same thing, just different colors. Like there's not as much personality that you could be putting on there. And specifically with store merch, they would have a $60 black hoodie with a fucking different team logo painted on it. No cool designs, no cool anything. And I'm just saying to myself, like, that's such a big missed opportunity, because that's where you're going to make a lot of your money, is in merch sales. At least I think that's where you're going to make a good amount of money. Obviously sponsorships as well, but I always just thought like, damn, there's not a real good incentive to buy these clothes.
Right. Yeah, and if they were a little bit more customized in a way, I think you're right in saying that at least this year there's been different designs have been they've been improved on, and I think we didn't we do a jersey? I think we did a Plat jersey tier list at the beginning of the year, okay. And Atlanta Reigns was pretty like high up there because it had like the Phoenix.
Yeah, it had quite like cool. The thing at the top.
Yeah, I always really liked that, and New York Excelsior's branding has always been really good, and that's one thing the team has done very well, is like their branding and their color scheme and the designs, they're all quite cool.
Yeah.
And they did a good job of making a cool looking jersey, and it's definitely more freedom than we've ever had, which has been great. I'm not sure about the percentage of revenue coming from jerseys and merch sales, but it probably would have upped it a little bit if there were, over the years at least.
Yeah,
I
mean, over 6 years, like you're just seeing the same stuff like
Right.
each year. Like you're, for example, like you said, NYXL they were always coming out with custom stuff that was really cool, and like it goes with New York streetwear,
Yeah.
stuff like that. That's cool. And like you said, with the Atlanta, they had like the Phoenix thing. Another jersey I really liked was the Inferno one. I really loved the cherry blossoms.
Oh yeah.
I
Yes,
thought
the
that one
cherry
was
blossom was sick.
I thought that one was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And I mean, like Valiant had like wings on it. I don't
Yep.
really like the colors, but every person put their own little thing, their own little cooking shit. So I think that was something that they probably should have been doing for the last 5 years or 6. Sorry.
Yeah. It's funny, a lot of these kind of decisions and a lot of these changes that have been better for like the ecosystem as a whole has come near the end of the Overwatch League. Or obviously, I will say this too, the potential end. Obviously, Overwatch League could be around next year, and there could be some sort of Overwatch League thing, or maybe it's just kind of Overwatch esports. So I think everybody's already jumped the gun and been like, oh, Overwatch League is done. But potentially there's still an Overwatch League. It's just different. I just want to preface that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. They said they're going to refresh the esports.
Yeah, they're going to revamp it or some shit.
Revamp it. Yeah, whatever they put in there.
I think people are saying it's Jover because of the, like you said earlier about that 2-3 minute thing of Zoe on desk. Like it kind of felt like a conclusion to something.
Yeah.
And I mean, everybody in Overwatch has always been fucking just like Debbie Downers, I guess. Like I think we've come to the point where it's like we don't have a lot of hope, and we just are like, yeah, like shit's not gonna happen. So I don't.
Yeah, it kind of sucks. I think a small portion of that is because a lot of like the other esports have been just shitting on Overwatch for like ever, and it's been like, man, we're a fun esport, bro. Just let us do our own thing. Just like let us be. You don't have to, every single time something bad happens to the Overwatch League or like some rule change or whatever, there's always a million like Overwatch League is bad, like I brought this up a few times, but my favorite recent kind of Overwatch League is the worst thing ever is Overwatch League killed Overwatch 2 PvE as like a YouTube thumbnail on like YouTube video, and I'm like, bro, come on. Have we gotten to the point where we think everything's like that? But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think
maybe that's why we're so down on ourselves because everybody shits on us all the time.
I definitely think that like because I used to have some friends in high school that played Overwatch like in season 2 and 3, and like they kept asking me like, yo, do you keep playing? And they're like Overwatch, and I was like, yeah. And then like whenever we would like talk something or have like a disagreement, they'd be like, bro, you play under down or not under down, you play under. I don't even remember. What's a different thing from watch? Like, what's the opposite of watch? Underblind. Underblind.
Yeah.
Something like that. And I was just like, bro, stop hating on my game. And this was like back when the game was not in like a horrible state either. Like this is like season 3 or 4. Like, look at us now. Season 30 fucking.
Well, season 7 almost for Overwatch 2 at least.
Oh shit! I forgot we restarted.
Yeah, we restarted. We're in season 7 almost. It's the Diablo crossover, Rise of Darkness. It's gonna be cool.
The Diablo crossover, bro. I'm getting a charity call. What the? Look at this. Yo, if any of you guys want to call this, it's a charity call. If you need some charity.
There you go. But you know what? That's actually a perfect way to end the episode. I think that's a perfect way. Lyar, I wanted to just give you the floor for a couple of minutes, and just if there's anything you wanted to say to LA Valiant fans or your own personal fans or whoever out there that you want to shout out, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Well, if there's any Valiant fans, I want to thank you guys for supporting us throughout this whole season. It's been a blast. It's definitely been unforgettable, and we really, really appreciate all your guys' support. And we fucking couldn't have done it without them. I'm gonna be honest. We were like Tezande, all those people. We love you guys. Any personal fans, again, thank you. I'm surprised how many people came up to me at Toronto and stuff. So it's very, very appreciated and feel very loved. If you don't follow my Twitter, Lyar _OW. My Twitch is Lyar OW no underscore. And if you're interested in some coaching sessions, I do coaching sessions. So, you know, if you are interested, just DM me on Twitter, and I'll get back to you guys. But thanks for having me on, man. This was really
no
fun.
worries. I'll put your Twitter, Twitch, and if you send me a link to your coaching thing as well, I'll put that in the description.
My coaching shit is just DMs. Like I don't have like
just
a
DMs?
like a site. Yeah, it's not a site or anything.
There you go.
DMs.
I'll put your Twitch and Twitter and stuff down in the description. And yeah, this is available on Spotify too. So I think I can edit the descriptions in there. But if not, I appreciate everybody that listens on Spotify. It's actually a surprising lot of you. So yeah, Lyar, thank you so much. And yeah, we'll see you for the next episode. Peace out.